He smelled like rot and sour milk. I nearly stepped on him. This German Shepherd puppy was curled between two overflowing trash bins behind a strip mall in Denver, Colorado, barely bigger than a backpack. His ribs were sharp as wire hangers under filthy fur. He didn't bark. He didn't flinch. He didn't even lift his head, just blinked once, slowly, like someone who had learned not to expect anything good from the world. It was midday, hot sun bouncing off the asphalt. I could hear kids laughing somewhere nearby, normal life. Except this tiny shape beside the dumpster didn't belong in it. His ears were matted down with grime. One was torn, crusted. His front right paw was tucked under unnaturally. His collar, if you could call it that, was a frayed strip of canvas with no tags. Just a rusted D-ring digging into his skin. I stood there frozen, holding a plastic grocery bag with a single bottle of water. I wasn't supposed to be here. I'd just quit my job 2 weeks ago. Walked out of an office building with nothing but a box of desk junk and a dull ringing in my ears. I'd come to this plaza for something mindless, water, maybe snacks, maybe air, but I wasn't ready to see this. He didn't look at me like I was help. He looked at me like I was the next thing that might kick him, and I didn't know what to do with that. My name's Brian, and I swear, in that moment, I wasn't a rescuer. I wasn't brave. I was just a guy too ashamed to walk away from something that shouldn't exist. I crouched slowly, his body tensed, not to run, but like he was preparing for pain. That's what broke me, not fear, expectation. "It's okay," I whispered, though my throat was dry and I wasn't sure I believed it. I placed the water bottle on the ground, unscrewed the cap, and rolled it toward him. He didn't move, just stared past me, eyes dull amber, empty of reaction. A manager came out from the back of the grocery store, glanced down. "That thing's been there since yesterday," he said, like talking about a soda someone forgot to pick up. "We called animal control. They didn't come." Then he tossed a box into the dumpster and walked away. The puppy flinched, not at the sound, but at the man's voice. My jaw clenched. I wanted to yell, at someone, at no one, at the system that lets a German Shepherd puppy rot behind a store in daylight and calls it not our problem. But I didn't yell. I stood up, walked back inside, straight to the pet aisle. My hands shook as I picked up a leash, the cheapest one they had. Red nylon, price tag, $10. At checkout, the clerk smiled. "New pup?" I didn't answer. Outside, I came back to where he still lay, unmoving. I crouched again. My voice cracked. "You don't know me, but I'm not walking away." He didn't resist when I clipped the leash onto the rusted D-ring. Didn't try to run or pull or even tremble. He just stood. A German Shepherd puppy, skin and bones, with nothing left but a heartbeat and the tiniest thread of something that wasn't quite hope. We stepped out of the alley into the sun, into traffic and noise and smells and people that didn't even glance our way, and I walked beside him like maybe, if we both kept moving, we wouldn't fall apart. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan, but I had him, and a $10 leash. He didn't limp. He floated. Each step the German Shepherd puppy took beside me looked more like a ghost moving than a living creature walking. His legs shook, but he stayed on his feet, as if the simple act of being attached to someone by that $10 leash gave him the strength to move. I guided him to my car, parked just around the corner. He didn't hesitate, didn't sniff, didn't resist. He climbed in like someone getting into a cell, resigned, obedient. That crushed me more than if he had fought me. There was no fear left in him, just fatigue, silence. The inside of my car filled with the smell of rot and damp fur. I cracked the windows, turned on the AC, and sat there with him for a moment. My hand hovered above his head. I didn't touch him, not yet. It didn't feel right. He wasn't ready for kindness. We drove to the nearest animal clinic I knew of, a small place on Kfax, a no-appointment walk-in that worked closely with shelters. Halfway through the ride, I glanced at him. He hadn't changed position, still curled, still small, but his eyes, they were on me now, not with trust, not with hope, with confusion, like he couldn't figure out why someone had come back for him. The receptionist at the clinic took one look and called a tech. They didn't ask me questions, just lifted him gently, wrapped in a towel, and carried him behind the doors. I stood there alone, holding the empty red leash in my hand. 15 minutes passed, then 30, then a vet, older woman, warm eyes, no-nonsense voice came out and said, "He's dehydrated, malnourished, and covered in pressure sores. No broken bones. He's lucky." Lucky. That word hit wrong. I asked if I could see him. She nodded. He was lying on a heating pad in a small kennel, IV in his leg, clean towel under him. His fur was still dirty, but his eyes were open now, watching, waiting. I crouched next to the crate. "I don't know what happened to you," I said quietly, "but I know what it's like to be forgotten." My own voice surprised me. I hadn't said those words out loud before, not since the divorce, not since the layoff, not since I moved into a studio apartment and stopped answering texts from old friends who had kids and barbecues and reasons to be busy. He blinked once, then, just barely, his palm moved, slid forward until it touched the inside edge of the crate. His nails scraped the metal, searching. Slowly, I extended my fingers. He didn't pull away. The vet came back. "Are you planning to surrender him to the shelter, or?" I looked at her. I didn't have the right answer. I didn't have any answers. I didn't know if I could keep him, if I was allowed to, if I had the space, the money, the right. But when I looked at him, this German Shepherd puppy with hollow cheeks and a heartbeat stronger than any logic, I heard myself say, "I'll foster, for now." She smiled, nodded. "We'll start treatment today. You can take him home in the morning." Home. I hadn't used that word in months, maybe years. Back in the car, I held the leash in my lap. The price sticker was still on it, $10. And suddenly, that leash felt like the most important thing I'd ever bought in my life. An hour later, my phone rang. A calm voice on the other end asked if we'd like to come in for an evaluation. "We don't usually reach out this fast," she said, "but your message? Something told me we needed to meet Max." We had a week to prepare. In those 7 days, Max changed more than I thought possible. He started initiating contact, placing his paw gently on my knee while I drank coffee, resting his head beside me on the couch, walking to the door when he heard children outside. He didn't bark, not once, not out of fear, not for attention. He didn't need to make noise to be noticed. He just was. One evening, I was on the floor with him, brushing out the last of the burrs from his coat. He lay perfectly still, breathing slow, eyes closed. The radio played quietly in the background, old jazz. His tail thumped once, faint but steady, and I found myself whispering, "You're not just healing, Max, you're teaching me how." It hit me then. This wasn't a dog learning to live again. This was a dog who already knew. He just needed someone to see it. The morning of the evaluation, Max sat calmly in the passenger seat, his head resting on the edge of the window, eyes fixed on the horizon, like he understood we were going somewhere important. He didn't tremble. He didn't shrink. He radiated quiet purpose, the kind that comes from something deeper than training, something innate. When we arrived at the Pobridge Foundation, the woman who greeted us was tall, soft-voiced, and barefoot in the grass. Her name was Elise. She knelt down immediately to Max's level, palms open. Max stepped forward, not fast, not eager, deliberate. He placed his head against her hand and exhaled. No tail wag, no lick, just stillness, connection. I stood there stunned. Elise looked up at me. "He doesn't ask for space," she said. "He offers it." The evaluation was simple but telling. A few basic commands. Exposure to sudden sounds. A child actor pretending to stress. Then laughter. Most dogs flinched or barked. Max didn't. He watched, moved slowly toward the child, lay down, and waited. The room fell quiet. "He regulates himself," Elise whispered. "That's rare, especially for a German Shepherd puppy who's been through trauma. He's not reacting. He's holding space." Max turned his head toward her as if to say, "I'm just doing what I know." We sat in the courtyard afterward. Max rested beside me, his body long and lean now, fur beginning to fill in, that torn ear forever slightly tilted. Elise returned with a folder and sat across from me. "We'd love to start him in our mentorship program," she said. "He'll need time, of course, and structure, but we don't rush dogs like him. They already know what to do. We just help them trust it." I looked down at Max. He glanced back, eyes soft but sharp, like he understood every word. He hadn't just survived. He'd listened, absorbed, waited, and now he was ready to give. Later that day, back at the apartment, Max surprised me. I was on the phone when I noticed him sitting at the door, not scratching, not barking, just waiting. I hung up and opened it. Across the hall, a neighbor, Ms. Ramirez, in her 70s, stood hunched over her cane, fumbling with her keys. Max stepped forward and sat quietly beside her. She looked down and smiled. "I had a shepherd once," she said softly. "Long ago. Just like this one. Strong but gentle." She reached down and placed a hand on his back. Max stayed still, solid, and I realized he wasn't asking for anything. Not praise, not permission. He was doing what he was born to do. Be there, for people, for silence, for healing. And somehow, without words, this German Shepherd puppy was becoming exactly who the world didn't know it needed. 2 weeks into the mentorship program, Max knew the way before I did. Every morning, as soon as I picked up the red leash, he was already waiting by the door, back straight, head high, eyes locked on mine, like we had a job to do, not a walk, not a game, a calling. At the Pobridge Foundation, the trainers quickly learned what I already knew. Max wasn't there to be taught, he was there to remember. They paired him with a retired therapy dog named Gus, a golden retriever with wise eyes and an old man's patience. Max followed him like an apprentice, mimicking his pace, the way he slowed before approaching someone, how he waited for permission before coming close. But there was something else, too, something Gus didn't teach him. Max saw things. One afternoon, we were in the children's wing of a local rehab center. It was bright and full of noise, too much, honestly. Some dogs barked or pulled away. Max stayed calm, walking steadily beside me until we reached a corner room with the door cracked open. Inside, a boy sat in a hospital bed, turned away from the window, alone, his shoulders tense, his hands fisted in his sheets. Max stopped cold. Then he looked up at me. I didn't say a word. He turned, slipped through the gap in the door, and padded silently across the linoleum floor. The boy didn't move, didn't turn. Max sat. Then, slowly, he laid his head on the bed rail, not on the child, not pushing for attention, just presence. The boy's fingers loosened, barely. Then he turned his head, and when he saw Max, those deep gold-fed eyes, that quiet, watching calm, something inside him cracked. I saw it, a tremor in his bottom lip, a shift in his chest. He reached out, touched Max's ear, the torn one. Max didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stayed. That's when I knew, this German Shepherd puppy wasn't healing anymore, he was healing. Back at home that night, Max sat beside me while I worked, his head resting on my foot, his breath slow and steady. I kept looking at him, thinking about how far we'd come since the day I found him between those dumpsters. The crusted fur, the blank stare, the smell of surrender. And now this, the gentle steadiness of a creature who knew pain too early, who hadn't barked or begged or lashed out, who had simply waited until someone finally saw him. There's something sacred in that. At the next session, one of the trainers asked if I'd consider certifying Max as an official therapy dog. "He's ready," she said. "We've never seen a pup adapt like this. He's not just good, he's gifted." I looked at Max. His ears perked just slightly at the sound of his name, but his gaze was already fixed across the yard, where an elderly man in a wheelchair had just been rolled outside. Max stood, leash still clipped, and started walking. He didn't wait for my cue, he just knew where he was needed, and I followed.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.